All right, guys, welcome to the session with Dan Della Portilla, or nationally known as Downtown Dan, and we also affectionately call him Superman Dan. I'm really excited about today's session with Dan because he actually has a lot of experience around building teams and running even some high-level customer service for some high-level, high-demand customers using virtual teams. So with Dan today, what I want to do is jump in and just kind of unpack the nitty-gritty of kind of what's his process, what's his approach, what's his thinking around it, and probably maybe even try to get into some of the common mistakes or pitfalls. With that said, Dan, welcome to the summit.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate the invite.
Hey, we appreciate having you on here. I want to start off by asking this, actually. You know, we all get into real estate, we get our license, and we all start someday somewhere with a license and zero deals, right? Goose egg. How long was it into you being a real estate agent before you realized and decided that, you know what, I got to start hiring and building a team. I got to start getting leverage. Kind of walk me through the early stages of your growth curve as an agent.
I pretty much didn't delegate much of anything for above 20 years, not until I bought a RE/MAX franchise did I finally learn and start delegating. I was kind of a hands-on control freak type of guy. Did everything I could, did too much, everything from, running a RE/MAX franchise, recruiting, taking care of books, throwing parties, taking out the trash, cleaning. I did everything, and then and was definitely headed towards a fast burnout. And then I slowly delegated with an in-house, hired an in-house assistant or two, and then eventually got into a better fit, more economical, more focused fit was a virtual assistant that I had hired.
Got it. Okay. How long was it from when you started hiring that you had your first virtual hire?
Well, the story really came as I didn't have a virtual hire when I was running my own franchise.
Okay.
And, what I went into, and when the market changed, I went into working with short sales, foreclosures, and then investor sales. And when I got into investor sale, when I was doing short sales, I hired out all the files because can't stand doing the paperwork on a short sale.
Sure. Who can?
and then same with some foreclosure stuff. But when I got into selling sold for a couple big cap companies that bought, in excess of 4,000 or 5,000 properties. So
okay.
In the market, they ended up buying through me, and making offers, 3 or 4 different companies, a couple hundred units. And to accomplish that, for every closed sale, we probably had to write 10 or 12 offers, manage the offers from beginning to end, get a decent amount of them accepted, renegotiated through stressful times with both other agents, other assistants on the other line, and then all of mine, all run off of a spreadsheet and a internet-based portal. So a lot of work had to be done, and I'm a salesperson, like many in real estate. I have a good personality. I'm a good networker, but I don't enjoy paperwork at all. And I don't think a lot of us do. But to get it done right, I had to hire someone more analytical, better on systems, better able to handle that than even myself. And I ended up hiring a couple of virtual assistants. And they handled a very, very large workload of, if you can imagine, the investor sends me 200 plus emails in a month to make offers with all the information in it. Many of the offers had to be written, cover letters sent out. With every offer had to be followed up with a half a dozen phone calls or more. The whole process needed to be explained to every seller's agent, list agent, sometimes sellers. And then we had to negotiate the whole deal. It was all done on a extensive spreadsheeting, and it turned out pretty successful. And I got to delegate all of that and do all that without a lot of stress.
Wow.
Because they took care of it on a massive level that I would never have been able to accomplish it all. So that's my biggest claim to fame with using a virtual assistant. And once I did that at that level, I'll never work without another virtual assistant the rest of my life, even if I'm low or even a medium or low producer, because I could delegate some of the things that are done best by somebody else on a systemized basis.
Right. Okay. Wow. That sounds like a lot. Let me ask you this. What were some of the learning curve that you went through? What was some of the learning curve that you went through in actually like hiring, training, and onboarding a virtual assistant in terms of creating an effective process? Because it sounds like you had a reliable process and system in place, right? Which is probably why now today you're saying I would never work without a virtual assistant, regardless of my level of production. So what were some of the learning curve that you went through in building out your first virtual hire, your first virtual role, where maybe you had some assumptions, maybe there's certain things didn't go the way you'd hoped, maybe they went better. But what was some of your learning curve around building a process and a system where you can effectively handle all that work with a virtual assistant in place instead of somebody in office?
It's just like any other part of life. Every failure is a learning opportunity. So usually you set up a system with the best plans possible, and overnight you learn that doesn't quite work out as you framed it, imagined it, or designed it. So immediately, you go, without getting upset at anybody, you have to okay, that didn't work out very well. We won't be doing that again, and we'll change it. We'll make little adjustments on the process, make sure everything's covered. No different than one of the great generals, Eisenhower, said, all the planning that went into D-Day saved the day, because the moment D-Day started, every single plan went out the window, but all the training and planning and hard work and practice paid off. So,
right.
Yeah, it's a constant learning environment. What happens is, I do like, eventually we'll get around to MyOutDesk, but all of the people that they hire, from what I can tell, are pre-trained, and a lot of skills that a lot of people take for granted, and you have to sit around and train a new one. The number one reason also, to kind of get off track, and I'll come back to that, is as a real estate, been in the business for 30 years in real estate. A lot of times I didn't have assistants, but I was around assistants or hired some kind of part-time and had some interns. I hired people locally to work for me. And what happened is that the dirty secret about hiring assistants in real estate is no matter who you hire in real estate, another person to be that, even if they're not a real estate agent or if they're licensed, you hire them, you train them, you put work onto them, you invest time in them, invest money in them, and 99.9% of them all decide that the grass is greener on the other side of the fence. Okay, so you've invested a mass amount of thing, then you have to turn around and reset, start from scratch. Ideally, maybe what you've done is you've written down some of the systems. Like every time I work with an assistant, I'd tell them to do something, I'd have them write it down, keep it part of a 50, 60 page PDF and PowerPoint with pictures and screenshots and everything else like that. So in case, she runs off with the guy or he disappears overnight, you're like, okay, well, I got to start over, but at least I got a library of how-tos to do, and maybe I can shortcut the next training period. The truth is, what I like about where I'm at now is that I have someone that's completely loyal. I take care of him very well. He's a great communicator, but he's not going to go out and try to get his real estate license.
Right, and compete against you.
And I don't have to reset all the time.
Right.
I mean, I've seen agents hire people. I work at a Remax. I work at the largest Remax franchise in North and South Carolina. I used to be a former broker owner. I've watched dozens, if not 100 real estate agents hire an assistant, put 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months in them, and then boom, the assistant, right about the time they actually begin performing, being productive, and everything else, right when it's really going to begin to pay off, they bail out, go get their license, and move on. And no matter how many times I tried to advise, and I finally have advised others, and got given referrals for virtual assistants, is they constantly repeat the same cycle over and over again of hiring an assistant and then losing them and then doing it all over again. You do that a couple times a year. That's painful.
Right.
I like where I'm at now. The system I have now, I got someone loyal, well trained. They keep learning every time around. He's able. My assistant is named Jerry, and he's able to learn almost any task. He has his better skill sets. He's a great caller, outbound caller. He was very well skilled when he came to me, and we continue to help grow his skills, so it helps me grow my business.
I so agree with what you're saying about the basically so many agents end up hiring and training their future competition. And I agree exactly with how you phrase it too, the dirty secret, because what you got to look at, and you can probably appreciate this, but I'd love you to, because you've had the perspective of being an agent and you have the perspective of being a broker owner too at one time. What I'd love to hear you expound on too is not just the cost of hiring and losing, but the cost of all the hours sunk into retraining over and over and over again. Whatever an agent's hour time is worth per hour, there's also all that cost that goes into it, and the stress and the loss of opportunity because you're focusing on non-revenue producing activity like training, right? You go through that 2-3 times in 1 year, that's a lot of momentum lost.
Yeah, I would say that it's probably to train any assistant to get him to where he would be familiar with anybody's system, because every single real estate agent has a different system, right?
Right.
Everyone has their system, whether they're coached or not coached. Obviously, there's some people that can set up better systems than others. But if you think about any assistant, the standard, I mean, first of all, not hiring an assistant locally or whatever means you don't have a team and you do all the work yourself. So people have decided, okay, I'm going to hire a friend of a friend down the street, which is just a glutton for punishment and inevitable failure, because they hire a friend of a friend, a girlfriend, something like that is not a smart not a smart business decision in the first place. But they go out and they hire someone, then they put, for every hour that they're working the first 2 months, they have to spend 15 or 20 minutes with them until they're totally self-performing, able to handle the tasks, have skill set, already made the decisions. The decisions, the conversations, understand and trained on scripts. You have in real estate, we all have 30 to 60 application or internet platforms we deal with. One thing I love about MyOutDesk is they train within the thousands of, the hundreds of people that are in MyOutDesk. They train each other behind the scenes on whoever's the best professional in any certain platform that's shared all across all of our things. So it doesn't matter what platform you're on, whether it's top producer, or we have bunches of them. We all have bunches of them, but they learn from each other. So sometimes I don't even have to train my assistant. When I first hired him, I'm on Top Producer. I got all my contacts there. He took half a dozen or more training classes in the own company. Then he took a few more videos of training through Top Producer, and he was 90% up and running without me having to sit there and babysit them.
Right.
So I totally got off track here. What was it? What was the
No,
question?
well, no, I was just.
But listen, what the average person does too, this is a financial, and there's numbers involved here. So if you hire someone at your desk or locally, you have to pay them $15, $18, $20 an hour. You have to pay taxes. You have to file taxes. They're costing 30 something an hour. Plus you're investing, if you're a $150, $200 an hour person and you invest 25 hours, that's a few $1,000s into this one person, tens of thousands of dollars to this one person over a 4-month period. And then poof, as I said, a lot of times, even on your best hire, poof, they can easily disappear, and you got to reset like as if your computer just died and start all over again.
Right.
So the cost to train the average in-house assistant that you hired down the street, whether it was Craigslist or put something out on Facebook or hire them through jobs.com, that's a $15,000 to $30,000 investment, I believe,
right.
for each person. In time, money, effort, taxes, paperwork, all of that. And then to have, to do that over again. So I really like where I'm at now because I have someone that's totally loyal. He's family. And I don't know. I'd imagine that sometimes something could change, but the change might happen only once every 4 or 5 years. And we'll have had a system set up where it's not so painful, won't cost me to reset all the time.
Right. Well, I appreciate you bringing that up too, talking about how we have the mastermind effect going on behind the scenes at MyOutDesk. And you're exactly right. What we do is when somebody comes in, that's a new recruit for us as a virtual professional or virtual assistant. When we're placing them for somebody, if let's say you've got some unique tool that you're using, we go find 2 or 3 other virtual assistants already placed who run that tool, and we have them train the new hire as well. We have them record some training videos. Yeah, so you're absolutely right.
That's worth a couple $100 per application because they're training each other. Especially the basics. Maybe not everything, but he went and got some training, came back and showed me what was going on and did things better than I was doing.
Right.
Right. And there's a big benefit in that. So, and the biggest problem most real estate agents have is we can't manage all these different distractions, applications, websites, and if you don't do something consistently, it doesn't pay off. We all know that. So if you have someone that you can delegate it to and it gets done, that's 10 minutes a week or an hour a week or whatever it is, if it gets done, updated, communication sent out and followed over a long period of time, the compounding effect of that is really big and powerful.
Right. Let me ask you this. I'm just taking notes while you're talking, so I'm looking over to the side here. What's your typical management or interaction process with a virtual assistant? Do you meet daily? Do you talk daily? Do you meet weekly? Like, what's your kind of ongoing management or leadership plan around that?
We'll have flexible schedules, but for the most part, 4 days a week, 10 minute, 15-minute call in the morning. I used to do it by Skype. Nowadays, I could just do it while I'm driving around. I check in and make sure that ideally what are the tasks to be completed that day or focused on. The one good thing is I get a small little email at the end of every day of a summary of what he's accomplished or did, or phone calls at the end of the day on an email. So sometimes I need to follow it up, sometimes I don't. For anybody considering it or doing it, the more and the better you manage a person and yet give them freedom to be themselves, give them responsibility without bullying, scaring, or intimidating them, they're going to get a lot more work done and help you to be a lot more successful. My assistant's made a couple of mistakes, but I totally, gone from the very beginning, he's made very small mistakes, and every time he's done that, we've learned it by what to say or how to say it or what to do, and he doesn't repeat them. So probably makes less mistakes than me, so that's all I keep telling him.
I love that.
But you can manage, you have to have, especially the first 3-5 months until someone's set, you have to know what you want. You're creating any assistant would be coming to you and trying to learn your system and what's important to you. It depends upon whether you're getting coached, what type of real estate agent you are, what your niche is, and why you hire them. Some people hire assistants to do administrative tasks. Some people hire them to do outgoing phone calls. And I have my assistant do a lot of outgoing stuff, phone calls that I don't really want to make. I don't want to call Facebook.
Let's actually unpack that part a little bit, because a lot of agents think you can't be successful with a virtual assistant. It's like they have to be in-house, right? Which is obviously not true, but an understandable misconception because of the perception of language barrier or knowledge gap, which don't exist if you're working with the right company or with the right team. Now, beyond that, some agents who understand that, I find that some agents who don't have that issue, they understand that virtual assistants can be effective. They think they can only be effective in an administrative role or kind of a, spreadsheets type role only. You, on the other hand, here, as the progression continues, you're using an ISA, you're using a virtual assistant as an ISA for outbound activity and to a certain degree of success. I'd love for you to unpack kind of how you're using your virtual assistant for outbound activities, and then kind of what's some of the results around that. What are you having him do? What are you having him focus on? Just give folks listening, give agents listening a sense of possibility of what they can actually successfully and effectively use a virtual assistant for.
I'll try to give a couple examples, and if I don't get distracted. One, I have my assistant do outbound calling through both neighborhoods, for sale by owners. He did expireds. He did solo stuff for sale by owners and help make me sell. And what his purpose and what I wanted him to do was get them on the phone, get them talking to him, and his purpose was to get me an appointment. Okay, mm-hmm. So that was the goal. So he would, and he literally in the very third or fourth day of him working, after he's from the third or fourth day from I hired him, he got me appointments and for expired listing, which ended up being a $350,000 sale on a listing that eventually sold. So what I have him doing is calling, like for instance, for a while I had him calling every conceivable for sale by owner that showed up on Zillow.
Okay.
He called, and it was luckily I chose someone, because you got to hire the type of person you want and need. I wanted someone to do outbound calling, because I don't want to call for sale by owners. I did it for years. Expireds, I can't stand it. Eventually I stopped doing it because I don't want to do it. So I hired someone to take it over for me and do that. So he ended up basically getting me 3 to 6 appointments a week, and I would go meet with for sale by owners on Zillow, and my conversion rate was as good as I could make of it at the time with my own skills. But what he did, his job was to get me at their door, confirm the appointment. I got face-to-face, and then once I was on the dance floor, I performed and closed as best I can. Mm-hmm. He did a great job to getting me there. And then once we were there, we had a system of follow-up. Because even if I met with them and whether they, whatever they wanted to do, they still needed another 10, 15 touches sometimes to convert. I'm in a hot market, and actually some of the people would end up selling their houses because Charlotte's just one of the hottest markets in America. So, but it gave me great opportunities. I've had them call my database. Okay, I make phone calls, and then sometimes I have them like the B- kind of social database. I've had them call that.
On that ABC list of prospects, you have them call B's and C.
Buffini or whatever,
Yeah.
Buffini trained, Mike Ferry trained, Tom Ferry trained, and Floyd Wickman. Anyways, we all work with those great professionals that can give us guidance. And I share, he basically could learn a script. What it is about an ISA that a lot of people don't understand is no different than one of the great teachers teaching us, and great teachers, successful coaches in real estate would teach us a series of scripts. The ISAs are very enthusiastic. They don't have judgments. They're not scared. They're not shy. They learn the scripts. And in fact, they practice the scripts with each other, 5 to 15 minutes a day for a week or two, so that they can make mistakes. They do it with other MyOutDesk people, and they train each other and kind of have a couple practice sessions. And on both sides, they get overcome their own little objections, and pretty soon they're really pretty skilled on the phone. And that's worked out good for me. But I've had, if I'm out running around with a client, if I get a new lead through the internet, through Remax or off of a sign, and I'm too busy, he calls them up within minutes or moments of getting a text or an email. He'll call them up and qualify them, or try to set them up an appointment, those type of things. So, we all can't stop what we're doing all the time, both during the day and time when we're spending with our family, or even sleeping. So he's been very successful in follow-ups and making sure that have lots of touches to all the clients over a long period of time.
Right. Well, a lot of agents struggle. You've probably heard this so much. I mean, you probably have so many stories from when you were also a managing broker. But agents constantly talk about, oh man, if I could just more effectively manage my database, if I could just do more with my database, if I was just smarter about my database, I'd have so much more business. It's kind of like one of those things where we know we should do it, but we don't do it, right? Kind of like eating healthy, and for me, my weight's always up and down. But it's like eating healthy and going to the gym. You should do it, but do you do it? And, with working out, unfortunately, they haven't yet invented a way where you can hire somebody to go do it for you, but you get the results. But with this, right, it's
app things that goes
right, right, shocking you like you're being tortured in Guantanamo Bay. But if you, on the other hand, with something like this, you can actually hire somebody else, but you get the result, right?
Absolutely, it's leveraging your time. Another thing that people don't. There's a few cycles in real estate we're all familiar with. Someone gets in it, and the most valuable time a real estate agent can do is prospecting. A couple hours a day is a minimum, at least an hour. And what happens is usually they start getting busy and they get a couple deals up, and then they stop making the phone calls, and then they manage and maintain their deal and babysit it. And my assistant can do and run most of my while my property's under escrows, my deals are under escrows. He can take care of a lot of the things. He can take care of a lot of things once I get listings, uploading pictures to 20 sites instead of just me doing it to one, and managing closings, making sure things are done and timelines, appointments set, and it leaves me more time to put out the important fires and focus on that. It leaves me more time to prospect, okay? And, to be honest, sometimes it leaves me more time to spend time with my daughter or my son, okay? And to go home an hour early and, to turn the phone off at dinner, and to not stress out because I have 500 things to do. It's a life balancing investment. If you're in real estate, you're running a business. You're not a real estate agent. You don't have a job.
Right.
To this day, 80%, 90% of most people in real estate think that being in real estate is having a job. But no, they're an entrepreneur. They run a business. The more they delegate, the less important stuff, the more successful they'll be. If they prospect more, meet with more people face to face, and do the things that really drive value and gross income in real estate. And they got to live somewhere in there. You got to live a balanced life. So I know to this day, I know real estate agents that would never hire an assistant, and they work 70-hour work weeks, and they're on their fourth marriage and unhappy kids, and losing hair, whatever it is. But if you can invest, if you take a certain portion of your income and invest it into delegating, which will help you grow your business. Even on a worst case, even if you didn't earn any more money, which is a fallacy, you would always earn more money and more gross profit. I figure my guy return on investments is 6 or 7 to 1. But what if you only worked a 40-hour work week and had the same exact income, instead of 70-hour work week, and actually got more done and gave better service to your clients, more professional, more excellent service? That has a lot of value, so that you can spend time with your family. I mean, in real estate, most everybody has a family. They have a couple kids, and they need to spend time with them, and they don't spend enough of it. They live an imbalanced life.
Okay.
They don't delegate.
I totally get that. Let me ask you this. You just touched on something that's really interesting that I don't think I've had really a chance to discuss with anybody else that I've interviewed for this summit series. And you said, you'll put something around like listing input. You'll put it on one site, but a virtual assistant might have gone do listing input on 20 different sites. And what you're talking about there, from my perspective, from a leveraged marketing and sales perspective, that's that's in my bailiwick. What you're talking about there is a force multiplier, right? It's kind of like get the most you can out of what you've already got. Well, you've got a listing, and
mother of all bombs.
What's that?
Mother of all bombs. It's much bigger if you put more stuff. More marketing equals a bigger presence in the marketplace.
Right. Well, that's what I'm talking about. So talk a little bit about just the importance, right, of getting force multipliers into your business, getting more out of what you've already got. I feel like so many agents don't maximize everything that they already have because you're so limited. Like you're saying, you're so limited on time. You do the bare minimum you need to do to get it done so that you can move on to the next thing. But if you had some sort of a system or process in place for a force multiplication, you could get more out of everything that you've got. Right? Talk a little bit about just maybe some of your experience.
Fall back into the system, and we all are. The real professionals in our industry are constantly learning what's the state-of-the-art applications, websites, and everything that we're using. They change daily and weekly, and a lot of times we get started on them, and they'll come out. There'll be a little enthusiasm, and then 10 days down the road, we forget to ever go back to the same site. And sometimes people are paying money for these things too. I think we've all bought into certain sites and vendors and doodads in real estate, and then never taken full advantage of what they have to offer. I'm in Remax. We have, and I work for one of the best companies in North Carolina. We have 10 offices, 280 people, doing almost $2 billion. lots of experience, but we have literally hundreds of available applications. And many of them are, to be honest, a lot of them are free or we're signed up for automatically. And to go in and tweak them or add a couple things can move you to the top of that website. You know, and just a Zillow, the average person of Zillow never goes in and adds more words, more pictures.
Or even like reviews and testimonials, right? Like you could have an ISA call your existing clients, get a written testimonial review, and then go upload that into Zillow.
If I put my house on MLS, I have 8 or 10 different websites that convert the pictures into 8 or 10 different videos automatically. Some of them are dorky, but some of them are skillful, and it's a new link, and it can be shared on a different profile. Also, I'm talking more of an ISA who's making direct calls out there, but a lot of them are hired to do, a lot of your social media stuff. You should be on Facebook, on a Facebook page, Twittering a little bit, and all the websites that we don't seem to do enough of. If you can have someone help you blog that. You can. Bottom line, with every listing, especially marketing, you can go out there and promote your listing, and by having someone spend, it might take them, once they do it once on one listing spot, they have all the pictures, they can copy and paste some of the same words, and they can go to 8 or 10 or 15 different websites, update them, get rolled up to the top, have better presence, better marketing for your clients, maybe a better way to get more customers, and they're doing it all systematically. I also have this one belief I'd like to bring up, which is for every 1 hour of work I accomplish in my life as a realtor, I can't, while I'm sitting here, my phone rang by 6 times. So how do we concentrate on the task at hand? Okay, we have a lot of tasks to accomplish. We get them done better if we start them, focus on them, and finish them without having to be distracted with lifting up the phone. God forbid, a fire happens every day or a couple of times a day, and you got to handle a client that's a client or a friend or a buyer, a seller, a vendor, a mortgage person. All of that happens while you're doing all these little things, and inevitably they don't get done.
Right.
Okay. So what I believe is that for every hour of me doing tasks, okay, actually, let me do it this way. For every hour that my virtual assistant does tasks, it takes me 3 hours to accomplish usually the same amount of work completed.
Got it. Yeah.
It takes me 3 hours to do what he can do in an hour. They usually do it more efficiently, more focused, without distraction, maybe even at a better quality editing, and they have a lot of skills on the computer that I don't necessarily have, but they get a lot more. They in that 1 hour, they do what it takes me 3 hours to do. So I always think that every hour I ever paid my assistant, he's doing 3 hours of work for me.
Nice.
So if he was doing 20 hours a week of work, for example, really he's doing 60 hours of stuff that I would never probably ever get done. So
I like that. I'm writing that down.
The leverage. You were talking earlier about a force multiplier. It's a way of leveraging. I mean, we're so distracted. We have so many things going on. Some of us task better than others and focus better than others. But if you're focused on a whole bunch of little tasks, eventually you're not getting something else done. And you have to delegate the things that are easily learnable, can be part of a system, that are repeatable, and that aren't what makes me $250, $300 an hour. Anything
Right.
else should be delegated.
I love that. I love that. Well, look, I know we could run even longer here, and we're pulling up close on the hour, and I really appreciate you breaking this all down. There's a lot of gold in this. You know, for those of you in the audience listening to this, there's so much gold here. I've been taking notes the whole time. You know, we've covered the fact that, Dan's able to use this for outbound calling, that he's getting 3 to 6 appointments set per week, right? There's a process around that. There's an opportunity for calling your database, your B minuses and your C's. And also just the force multiplication that comes from this. And I really love that insight. That's something I've actually never thought of, is that because of all the distractions that the agent has to deal with, it takes you about 3 hours of time to complete, not start, but complete, right? The same amount of work that a VA could do in 1 hour. And the thing is, we really only get paid on completed work, right? So it doesn't matter how many hours you work. What really counts is
what happens is usually the work doesn't get done.
Right. And until it gets done, you don't get paid.
Well, no, I mean, you take care of what happens is this cycle where everybody gets you get a half a dozen deals running in the old days. And I'm calling the lawyers and the closing and making the home warranty appointment and getting this done and uploading documents and getting, DocuSigns changed and initialed and, got to get the file in to get closed and paid, got to get everything to closing, inspections, they're just stuff. While you're doing all of this, you're not doing all the little things out on the internet. You're making that many less phone calls. You're prospecting less. But the bottom line is really the true honest value of all this. If you can delegate all this, then you can enjoy your prospecting more, because that's the only really valuable thing that we do as entrepreneur real estate agents. Is the most valuable moment in time, which has to be delegated every day, is an hour and a half, 2 hours of prospecting, calling your friends, your clients, your database, following up on all the leads you've had, all the promises you've made. You make a promise, I'll get this done for you, I'll call you back in a week. You got to make that phone call in that week. Okay, I've been amateurish at some points in my life where I met a great client and, I called him up 2 days late and he bought some from somebody else. And,
right.
Those things happen all the time. We haven't followed up on our past clients. If you're doing the prospecting things, if you have an assistant that allows you to prospect more, okay, and not to worry about all this, black noise distraction that happens in real estate, all the, this crybaby in the industries, other amateurish things, making your clients, also you get those better phone calls. If you're less distracted, you get those better phone calls with your existing hot number one clients. You get more appointments with them. You get to give them better service, more excellent service. And inevitably, the whole idea here is to earn enough money so that you don't have to do this the rest of your life.
I love that. Thank you for that. I love how much detail you unpack around this. This is really valuable. Well, in closing here, let me ask you this. What would you say to somebody? This is a very self-serving question, but I want to ask it because I believe it is my duty to get the message about MyOutDesk out to more agents so they can have the same experience that you've had. What would you say to somebody who's considering going the virtual route or considering working with MyOutDesk if they're not sure yet? To either one of those people, from your perspective and your experience, firsthand, what would you say to somebody?
Do you want to succeed in real estate? Yeah, if you do, you need to hire someone to make you successful. You can't, we don't run, the growth of massive mega teams right now is going like a train, big train. I'm sure you're having interviews with other people that are running 8, 12, 20 people teams. Mm-hmm. And if you're just an individual, bouncing around, you might be good, but you're not great and you're not excellent. You have no way to deliver great value except for small people. You can't expand. It's a very competitive industry. But, and we all know that in 5 years, in excess of 80% of the people that get into real estate fail and are out of the game of real estate. I've been doing this 30 years. I've been through 4 cycles. I've made millions. I've lost millions. Okay. I've done it right. I've done it wrong. But to have any sanity and success in this business, you need to delegate, have a good system. You need to delegate a lot of as many tasks as you can. The beauty of your company is you can start out fairly inexpensively and a little bit at a time and grow on it until it's paid for itself and it has been returned to itself. For every dollar I believe I put into my virtual assistant, I might be getting $6 or $10 back. But on top of that, I might be getting as much as 8 to 10 hours a week of life as a real estate agent. I have a life. Okay, I have happier moments with family, and I get to go on. When I go on vacation, I don't panic. I don't have to pick up my phone. My phone goes off at 9 at night, and I don't answer it. Okay, because I took care of so much stuff that day. By delegating it out, I'll get to the next day. But the bottom line is, no matter what type of business you want to run it as a real estate entrepreneur, the only way you can grow and be very successful is to have some sort of a team doing it. And you don't have to spend $30 or $35 an hour to hire someone down the street who's going to work 4 months for you and leave, so you have to do it all over again. You can hire someone from MyOutDesk at their market rate, and they might be with you 2, 3, 4, 5 years, maybe even longer. I don't even know what your average is, but they're going to be loyal. They're going to be hardworking. They're going to be accountable, and it's just a great investment, and it'll lead to more success, more gross income, more clients, being more profitable, having a more balanced life, being less stressed, being able to go on vacation, and whatever other goals you have, it'll probably help out with, all that.
Awesome. Dan, I just want to say thank you here on behalf of everybody here on the summit. On behalf of MyOutDesk, 1, thank you for being a longtime client of ours, and 2, thanks for just being willing to come on and share so many details and so openly about your business and just be willing to give back to the community. I really appreciate you. We appreciate that. And so on behalf of everybody here on the summit, thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I appreciate MyOutDesk and my assistant, Jerry. And Pauline's pretty cool too.
Yeah, she is. Thanks, Dan.